Hello, I'm Harvey from blueshiftcoding.com and I'm excited to be here with you today for our second hackathon. So, as you're all aware, the Olympic Games has unfortunately been postponed this year, but we challenge you with our hackathon to keep that Olympic spirit alive and to keep that team spirit alive by creating an interactive animation based on the opening ceremony for the Olympic Games. Now, as with our last hackathon, there will be a prize for £100 towards one of our online courses, but more about the competition towards the end. And the first thing I'm going to do is go through my example of my interactive animation inspired by the opening ceremony. So feel free to code along, but if you don't feel any pressure to code along, this video will be recorded and you can watch it back at any time and receive all the help that you need with information in the description below. So let's get cracking with my example. So here I have my Scratch project. This is my Olympic opening ceremony. So if I click the green flag, here we go. So my Flagbearer has the blue shift flag, and if I press B, Ben joins my parade. If I press the B key, if I click the screen with the mouse, Cartwheel Casey joins my parade, and if I press D, my Dino competitor joins my blue shift Olympic parade. So there we have it. So that's what I'm going to take you through today. The code is in the description below, and also in the description below is code for the some starter code to get you kicked off. And if you click that link, you will see a big green button that says Remix, and you can click on that and you'll be able to edit this code that I've provided for you. But because this is my project, Remix doesn't appear, but again, some help in the description for how to do that, how to remix. So I'm going to click C inside. Hopefully you've clicked Remix, and then you will see a blank Scratch project, some blank sprites with no code in them. So all the sprites you saw in my demonstration, they're going to be down here, but they don't have any code. And that's our job today, is to populate this with some code and animate our characters across the screen for our Olympic parade. But before we do that, the first thing that we want to do is change the costumes. So change the colors, change the patterns, change even the characters themselves to something that represents our teams. So that could represent yourself, your family, your school, anything that you want to represent. So if we click the costumes tab for each sprite, we can see here that my dinosaur is blue. And if you wanted to change that for your team colors, you can click fill and change your color of your dinosaur. So if you want it to be the green team or the orange team or the red team, you can change the different colors there. You can also use my flag template if you wanted to create a flag, and you can just get rid of the blue shift logo by clicking ungroup, delete that, and you can put your own team flag there. But I'm going to keep it blue shift for today. You can also change each individual costume, and what that's going to do is it's going to enable your character to be animated. And a lot of the pre-made Scratch sprites have pre-made costumes that you can edit, or you can draw your own by clicking the paint button here. But we won't go into that today. We're just going to use the pre-made sprites. So you can click choose a sprite and pick your favorite character to join your Olympic parade, your team, and you can edit those characters just the way that I've suggested here by clicking the costumes tab. So let's get started with some code. If anyone is familiar with Scratch already, you might recognize the when green flag clicked block in the events tab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this block to kickstart our code. So every time I press the green flag, my code is going to start running. So I'm focused here on the dinosaur Flagbearer. And as we saw in the demonstration, the dinosaur started on the left-hand side, walked across the track, and finished on the right-hand side. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is go to motion and make sure that my dinosaur goes to the left-hand side of the screen. Now, if you're not familiar with x and y coordinates, x coordinates are sideways and y coordinates are up and down. And in Scratch, the very leftmost coordinate is negative 250, so that's what I'm going to put in for the x value, because that's the very left-hand side of the screen. And the right-hand side of the screen is positive 250. And as you can see, my dinosaur hasn't appeared yet. So I'm going to go to Looks, and I'm going to go to Show, get the Show block just to make sure that our dinosaur actually appears on the screen. And then I can start my process of walking. So let me just test this quickly. So as you can see, the dinosaur appears on the left-hand side of the screen. But now I need to make the dinosaur walk across the screen. So again, I'm going to go back to motion. And like I said, x coordinates were sideways. So I'm going to use the change x by something. And I'm going to keep it as 10. And the dinosaur will try and move 10 across the screen. But if we try it as it is, the dinosaur doesn't actually move, he stays where he is, and that's because we've only changed x by 10 once. We're actually going to need to repeat that process until the dinosaur is all the way across the screen. So I'm going to go to Control, I'm going to grab Repeat Until, and I'm going to put the change x by 10 in there. So now the dinosaur will walk across the screen until something, and I want it to be until the dinosaur reaches the end. So we can do that with the x position. So going back to motion, the x position is just how far is the dinosaur across the screen, and I want that position to be greater than 250 because that's where the end of the screen is. So I'm going to go to Operators and use this greater than sign. This is the one here with the triangle, if you haven't seen that before. And I want the open end of the triangle, the open end of the greater than sign, to be where the x position is. And on the side with the number, I'm actually going to put 249, not 250, so I'm going to make finish just before the end of the screen. So if I click the green flag now and test my code, let's see if the dinosaur moves. There we go. So the dinosaur glides across the screen, but that's quite a fast pace. So what I'm going to do is add in Control, and I'm going to wait. So he takes steps instead of gliding across the screen. Now I think I might have made that a little bit slow, so I'm going to change the time to wait 0.4 seconds. I think that sounds about right. There we go, so our dinosaur glides across the screen. But there's one more thing that we can do, and because we have those 4 costumes that we saw at the start of this video, we can actually go to Looks and Next Costume, get the next costume block. And what that's going to do is every step the dinosaur takes, it's going to toggle between each of these costumes, and it's going to change his pose every step. So let's test that code by pressing the green flag. And there we have it. So the dinosaur now waves the flag and moves across the screen at the same time. And one last thing that we want to do is just when the dinosaur reaches the end of the screen, I'm just going to pop a hide block, because otherwise the dinosaur will be stood still at the end of the screen. But I want to make it look like the dinosaur's passing all the way through in my animation. So I'm going to add hide when he reaches the end. So that is the basic code for moving our characters across the screen, and you can stop there if you want to, and you can add more characters by duplicating the code, by dragging it over to and dropping it on the character sprites like that. But I'm actually going to do something a little bit differently today, so if you want to make things a little bit more complicated and challenge yourself a little bit more, we're actually going to edit this code even further. So now I'm going to focus on my Ben character. I'm going to use the same code for the movement, but I'm going to get rid of the green flag. So now I have my duplicated code. Ben is still going to start at the left-hand side of the screen and move across, but I'm actually going to introduce Ben with the events block when key pressed. So like I said in my demonstration, when I press the B key, B for Ben, that's when I want something to happen. So I'm actually going to create a clone of myself in the Control tab. Every time that I press B, I'm going to clone Ben. So that's going to make a duplicate of Ben, and I'm going to grab the when I start as a clone block. So our movement code that we created, I'm going to pop there. Every time I press B, Ben is going to clone himself and start on the left hand side. So let's give that a test. So I'm going to hit the B key, and there we go. Ben joins our parade. Now Ben looks a little bit high at the moment, so we're going to lower him a little bit by changing the Y coordinates. Like we said, Y is up and down. So I'm going to lower that from 100, so sorry, negative 100 to negative 150. And let's see if that looks about right. Perfect. So now Ben actually walks on our track. So there we have our code for introducing characters to our parade every time we press a key. And you can copy this for all your characters and change the B key to something else, so maybe C for Casey or D for Dinosaur for the other characters. But if you want to stay tuned with, again, something more challenging, then let's at least copy the clone code by dragging and dropping over to the Casey sprite. But I'm going to do something a little bit differently to introduce Casey to our parade. So Benny's on the B click, but I want Casey to join the team if I click the mouse. So if we go back to events, if you look closely, you might not actually see any events for when something is clicked. So we have this when sprite clicked, but that's actually only for the sprite. So as at the moment, Casey isn't on the screen, so we can't click that sprite. So let's try and make our own trigger, and you can use this technique to make your own triggers in the future. We can grab a green flag block, we can go to control and we can repeat forever, and we can use the if statement, because if you've used Scratch before, you might have noticed there is a sensing block for mouse down. So here we go, let me explain the code that I've just popped down onto my project. So when I click the green flag, it's going to run this forever loop, believe it or not, forever until the game ends. And it's going to continually ask the question if the mouse is down, or is the mouse down? And if it is down, if the answer is yes, that is where I can put my code to trigger Casey joining the team. So I can go back to control, I can scroll down and grab create a clone of myself. So let's test this out. The loop is going to continuously ask, is my mouse clicked? Is my mouse down? And if it is, then it's going to create a Casey clone. So let's press go. So there we go. So every time I click, Casey joins our parade. But if you didn't notice, Casey actually appeared a lot of times, and that's because this forever loop is quite quick. And when I click my mouse, it's gonna, even when it's down and not on the first click, even when it's just down in general, it's going to keep producing clones of Casey. So I'm actually going to add an extra piece of code. I'm going to add wait until. So when I click, it's going to wait until I don't click again. So it's going to wait until I release the click. So I can go to operators and I can grab not, and then I can go back to sensing and grab mouse down. So when I click, it creates a clone, and then it's going to wait until I not click, as the code understands. So it's going to wait until I release my click. So let's give that a go. There we go. So only one Casey per click now. And I actually think Casey should be doing a cartwheel. So I'm actually going to go back to motion, and I'm going to modify our walking code on the left-hand side. And I'm going to grab turn 15 degrees. And I'm also going to pop that in. So Casey's going to turn 15 degrees as well as step across the screen. So let's see that in action. Click go again. There we go. So Casey is cartwheeling across the screen. That's a bit slow, so I'm going to increase the angle from 15 to maybe 45. Let's try 45 degrees. And let's see how fast Casey cartwheels across the screen now. There we go, that's a lot better. So Casey is cartwheeling across the screen every time I click the mouse down. And I can click as many times as I like, and lots of Caseys are going to appear. But be careful, that will slow Scratch down if you have lots and lots of sprites on the screen at the same time. Okay, brilliant. Let's add one more piece of code for our dinosaur. I'm going to drag and drop again the clone walking code, because the dinosaur is again going to walk across the screen until he reaches the end. I don't want the dinosaur to do a cartwheel, so I'm going to remove that turn 45 degrees block. And to remove it, I can just drag it over back to where the blocks came from. So this code again, this looks exactly the same as Ben for this clone code. But for this dinosaur, I actually, instead of starting at the left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to modify this block here. I'm going to take out the go-to block, and I'm actually going to add go-to random position. And I'm going to change random position to go to mouse pointer. So now, every time that the dinosaur joins the parade, he's going to join the parade where the mouse pointer is, so where my cursor is. And again, I can use a similar technique as I did with Ben. I can get when key pressed and change space to D for dinosaur, let's say. There we go. And I can create a clone. If I go to control, let's create a clone of myself. Every time D is pressed, the dinosaur is going to go to the mouse and start walking. So let's test that in action. So every time I press D, the dinosaurs appear where my mouse is. But at the moment, they're just kind of flying randomly in the air, and that doesn't look very realistic. So we're going to add a little bit of gravity to our dinosaur. Now, if you've joined our Blue Shift online classes before in some of our intermediate Scratch game making courses, you might be familiar with this technique of creating gravity. But I'm going to grab, when I start as a clone, and I'm going to grab a forever loop, because gravity lasts forever, it's not going to stop at any point in our animation. And like I said, Y coordinates are up and down. So for gravity, because that's up and down, I'm going to change Y, the Y direction. And because it's going down, it's going to be a negative value. So I'm going to forever change Y by -10. So that means that the dinosaur is always going to fall downwards. Now, at the moment, that means the dinosaur is going to shoot off the bottom of the screen. So we need to add a floor. But let's just test this out before we add the floor. Let's just click go. There we go. So our dinosaur falls correctly, but our dinosaur doesn't reach the floor. So again, within this forever loop for creating gravity, I'm going to add an if statement from the control blocks. And if the Y position is low enough, I'm going to stop. So I'm going to stop falling if the Y position is low enough. And a way that I can do that is go to motion blocks and grab the Y position value, and go to operators and grab the less than operator. So that's the triangle for the opposite way. So the closed end of the triangle, the point of the triangle, is going to be where the Y position goes, and the number I'm going to set to -150, because that's how low Ben was, our other character. So that's how low I'm going to make this dinosaur. So if the Y position is less than 150, I'm going to stop falling, and I'm just going to set the Y value to that floor value. So I'm going to get set, and I'm going to set the Y value to -150. So it's going to continuously fall down, and then when the Y value gets to -150, it stops. And that is our floor. And that's how we create gravity for our characters. So let's see that in action. So as you can see, actually the floor of the dinosaur seems a little bit low. So let's change that from -150 to -130, let's say. Let's see if that works. And we'll change both of these values. There we go. So I press D for the dinosaur again. Perfect. So now the dino has joined our parade. And we have all of our characters able to participate in our Olympic opening ceremony. Let's add a few more other features now, like sound. So you can stop there if you wish, and you can add cartwheels and movement and gravity to your animation. But let's also add some sounds to our animation. So every time that I create a dinosaur and add a dinosaur clone to my opening ceremony parade, I'm going to start the sound growl. And all I'm going to do is pop that in the D pressed event. So every time I press D, it's going to growl when the dinosaur appears. Let's try that. There we go. So a small, soft, muffled dinosaur roar for everyone there. And let's add some sounds to our other characters. So Ben, I'm going to add the whiz sound. So I'm just going to say start whiz when the B key is pressed. So let's try that. So every time that Ben appears in our parade, you can hear the whiz sound if you listen carefully. And let's add one more sound for Casey. And let's add the trombone sound. I like the trombone sound. So I can add down here, when the clone is created, if the mouse is down, play the trombone sound. So every time Cartwheel or Casey joins the parade, we can hear the trombone. Now there's one more very important sound that I want to show you, and it's the Flagbearer. So if you remember to any Olympic parade that you may have seen before, every time the new team comes on to the parade, an announcement is made. And it usually says, up next, the country. So up next, the United Kingdom, or up next, Blue Shift. And you can add your own sounds by clicking on the Sounds tab, and then clicking Choose a Sound at the bottom. And you can actually click Record a Sound. And I've recorded this sound that says, up next, Blue Shift.
Up next, it's Blue Shift. Up next, it's Blue Shift.
And to add that effect, all I did was I clicked faster a couple of times, and it just sped up my voice. That's my normal voice. So if I slow it down,
up next, it's Blue Shift.
You can hear that it is my voice, but if you press faster,
up next, it's Blue Shift.
It sounds like a strange robot. So I'm going to keep it as a strange robot. So that's my sound recording there. And if I go back to the code, I can now do start recording 1. So every time I click the green flag and start the parade, the dinosaur is going to shout, up next, Blue Shift.
Up next, it's Blue Shift.
There we go. So we have gone through moving our characters from left to right. We've gone through introducing new characters and clones to our parade. And we've also gone through sounds and a few costume features. If you were interested in including more sounds into the game, if you click on the backdrops on the right hand side at the bottom where it says stage, I also have included the background music, and you can change this one here that says play dance around, and that's just the music that's playing in the background. And if you wanted to know how to change that, all you do again is go to sounds and you click choose a sound. And for music, if you go to loops, that's usually the best option. So these loops are going to be kind of little jingles, little tunes that are going to kind of repeat. So I've put this in a forever loop, and it's forever going to play the sound dance around, forever play the loop sound dance around. I've also added a small forever loop here just for some background cheer noises, but you don't need to change that at all. The funky sound is going to be changed with this one. So play the dance around sound. You can change that to a jingle or a loop of your choice. So there we have it. That's our animation. I really look forward to seeing yours. But how I can do that is when you share your projects, you're going to need to save it and you're going to need to share it. So at the top of my screen, it already says shared. And that's because I've already clicked the big orange button. But if you have a new project, you're going to see an orange share button here. You're going to want to click that, and that enables me to be able to see your submission. And you're going to want to click at the bottom, copy link, and you want to copy the link, and then again click copy link here. And now that link is copied to your clipboard, and we're going to use that when you submit your project. So you're going to paste that into the submission form. So in the description below, there is a submission form that you can submit your project for our £100 voucher towards an online course for our Blue Shift project. But also, if your school is participating in this hackathon, feel free to contact your school and ask if they are participating in the hackathon. And if they are, you'll also have a school submission board like this. So your school name will be at the top, and you can post your project by clicking the plus sign, typing in your name and your year group, whatever number that might be. So I think I'm in about year 100 at the moment. I went to school a long time ago. And then you can paste your Scratch project by clicking that link there. So we just copied our Scratch project from the Scratch screen, and then you can right click and click paste, and then your Scratch project is going to be submitted there. So if your school is participating, then that's how you submit it through your school. And these will be password protected to make sure you have the relevant information. But to submit to our Blue Shift project, competition, then click the description below for that submission form. You can also submit any questions that you have throughout the week, whether it's related to this Olympic ceremony or Scratch in general, and I can try and answer those questions next week. So thanks for listening. Our competition is now open. You can again submit via the description below or submit through your school. And I'm looking for 3 things when I am judging these submissions for next week. I'm looking for the code itself. Does it work? Are there any bugs? Anything like that. So how well does the code run? I'm also looking for the second thing, which is style and creativity. How well have you changed the colours and the patterns and the characters to represent your interests or your team, your school, your family, and things like that, and the general style of the animation. And the third thing is, how fun is it? Are there different interactions, like pressing different keys or pressing the mouse and things like that? And is it generally going to surprise me and have a good time when I'm looking at all these super cool projects? So I hope you have fun submitting those. And you will need to submit those by 10 AM next Thursday. And then they'll be judged throughout the day, and I'll announce the winners at the same time next week, next Thursday at 4 o'clock. So at the same time next week, tune in again, and I will share some of the best projects. I will also answer any of the questions, and I will of course announce our winner. So good luck to everyone joining this competition. If you really do need any more information, just read the description below. And if you want to watch the video again, then feel free to do so. All the code will be in the description, and you can have some recaps by rewatching this session. So good luck to everyone, and thank you very much for watching. I will see you again next week. Take care.